I'm now going to talk about some of my favorite extended techniques for bass clarinet, and I'll talk about 5 of these today. And the first one is multiphonics, or spectral multiphonics. If you heard my clarinet video, you would have heard me talk about the clarinet having this property of overblowing at a 12th. So when I play a C and I use my register key, it actually produces a pitch a 12th higher. So a particularly good effect are these spectral glisses on the bass clarinet. If I finger the lowest note on the bass clarinet, the fundamental C, an octave below middle C, I can actually get many of the harmonics or overtones above this note. Felicity Wilcox, in her bass clarinet solo Overblowing, or People of This Place, makes use of this technique. But softer multiphonics are also equally beautiful on the bass clarinet. I could finger a note such as D, the note but just above middle C, and play a very soft overtone on this note at the same time as the low D. And I do this with my embouchure, my air, and of course my throat or oral cavity. Chris Tonkin, in his bass clarinet solo, has a beautiful ending where he uses these multiphonics, producing dyads, just 2 particular pitches. Sounds something like this. The second technique I'm going to talk about today for bass clarinet is key clicks and also air sounds. You might have heard in that passage from Overblowing, or People of This Place, I was imitating there the sound of insects. And on bass clarinet, this is really quite successful. I would recommend you only use key clicks unless you're going to amplify it really well on bass clarinet as opposed to clarinet. My bass clarinet is kind of getting old, and the key clicks come out quite well. You can hear the pitch quite clearly too. Breath sounds are probably more successful on bass clarinet given the size of the bore. I can make quite a big volume of air. There, that was without pitch or with pitch. Sometimes you can also add a syllable. I'm going to repeat here the syllable t t t t t t as I play with air sounds. Or a bit higher. The third extended technique for bass clarinet I'm going to talk about is one of the most commonly used, maybe a bit overdone. It's slap tongue. It sounds like this. And I do this by putting my tongue flat against the reed and violently pulling it away. Putting my tongue there, I use the suction to pull it away, and it violently slaps back against the mouthpiece. So I can do this with pitch, as you just heard there. Usually in the lower register, so try and use it from C, an octave below middle C, to about the B flat, so the shallow mo register, the third line of the treble clef. But I can also do this effect as an open slap where I don't produce any pitch. I call this a Muppet technique. I look like a bit of a Muppet when I'm doing it. They can be also quite beautiful soft. Try not to do them too many in a row. So rapid slap tonguing is really quite hard and also can be quite damaging to your reed. The fourth technique I'm going to talk about for bass clarinet, but actually also for clarinet, is timbral trills. I'm sure you all know what a trill is, where you rapidly alternate two pitches. But you can also change the color of the same pitch and rapidly alternate two different fingerings to produce this pitch. Sounds something like this. Most wind instruments do this particularly well. The symbol for this would just be trill sign, and you can write a capital T above for timbral. And what's also quite beautiful with this effect is where you change the speed of the trill. And normally the player will find their own set of fingerings for these timbral trills. And the last technique I'd like to talk about for bass clarinet, and clarinet actually, is vibrato. It's something that's a bit contentious on clarinets. Unlike flutes or saxophones, where it's very, very commonly used, vibrato is a very personal thing on clarinet, and I would avoid overusing it. I can do it quite easily, somewhat imperceptibly. Especially on longer notes. But I think in this context, you as a composer would not need to write this on your score. It's something that the player might just sort of add to bring color to a note. But you can also use it in a slightly more crazy or wild way if you're wanting a really wide, rapid form of vibrato. And there you heard I was changing the speed of the vibrato from really fast and then to really slow. And finally, I'd like to recommend a few other resources that you could go and look up for writing for the bass clarinet. Again, heatherroach.net is a great resource for lots of different techniques and in general writing for the bass clarinet. She also has lots of great little snippets of recordings of sounds you might like to use. So check that one out. Also check out Harry Sparnay's book, his book, The Bass Clarinet, A Personal History. It's a really great one that goes through a lot of different aspects of bass clarinet playing, has a lot of fingerings as well. Good luck with writing for the bass clarinet.